Right. So if you live in a city, I'm not sure if you've seen this picture before, but this is a visualization by an architect called Buckminster Fuller, who was an American architect. And in the 1960s, this was his vision for saving New York City from air pollution and extreme temperatures. What he really wanted is to actually put a geodesic dome on top of Midtown Manhattan that was 3 kilometers in diameter. And he claimed that actually by putting this geodesic dome, it will help the city regulate its temperature. It will also help with air pollution. And he even convinced the authorities that the cost of cleaning the snow or kind of scraping the snow will pay for the dome. So really, these were the ideas in the 1960s that were going around to actually saving our cities. And then, this is the image of the Earth from Apollo 7 or Apollo 8 in the 20th century, and it became the most powerful image of the century. And this is what sparked the environmental movement and the Earth Day. This is the first time that people saw that we all live on one planet, and that actually we really need to save the planet. If we look at the environmental protests of the 1960s, we can actually see a lot of the things that we actually today still protest about: air pollution, temperatures, etc. And we're 60 years on, and we're still talking about the same challenges. And I'm sure many of you know the planetary boundaries framework. And what we see today is that actually we have passed 6 of the 9 boundaries. Again, this is alarming. The recent World Economic Forum Global Risk Report has shown actually what the risks are over the next 2 years versus over the next 10 years. And what we have seen is we've seen a significant shift towards more environmental challenges. So if you look at the top 4 challenges, they're all about climate and biodiversity. So what do we mean by nature-positive cities? We know that historically cities and the built environment has contributed negatively to both climate and nature. So what we mean by nature-positive cities is that we need to design nature into all our urban systems to meet the city's net zero ambitions, the 1.5-degree targets, and reduce the impact of climate change. This is a Nolli plan. Nolli was an Italian architect, and it was the first time. This is of London, but the black and white plans are very famous for Nolli, and it was the first time that actually people saw the number or the area of open spaces in cities. And what you can see here is that more than 50% of cities is open space. And that includes roads, that includes roundabouts, that includes plazas, that includes rooftops, even courtyards were drawn in these maps. But what this actually means is that if we want to make our cities nature positive, all of these spaces have to play a role. We have 50% of our cities as open space. They need to play a role in bringing nature in. But what do we mean by nature? Historically, we have actually designed our open spaces to be beautiful and just to kind of deliver on aesthetic characteristics. We never really thought of them as actually delivering a function or thinking of these spaces working harder. So we really need to move from aesthetic to functional high-performance infrastructure in our cities. And there are plenty of examples where this is actually being done now in cities in terms of reimagining our infrastructure, repurposing infrastructure in cities, reimagining protective infrastructure instead of flood walls to actually think of needing renaturalization, thinking of using nature to reduce consumption, thinking of how we can make our city more spongy. All of that is actually examples of that. I love the example on the top right-hand side here, which is Rotterdam in water squares. Rotterdam has piloted this all over the city to actually attenuate water and not just design squares for the sake of squares, but actually let these squares flood and let these squares attenuate water. But all of that is great, but we need to make it evidence-based. We still know that actually financing and funding adaptation and nature in cities is actually really, really difficult because we cannot make the case, because it's not investable enough. So we need to make it evidence-based. We have the tools out there, AI tools and satellite imagery and some of the tools that were shown by colleagues earlier to actually make that evidence-based, to be able to quantify the benefits on nature, whether this is carbon sequestration or reduction in urban heat or flood resilience or impact on health. So we really need to make it evidence-based. But also, I think in cities, we really need to think about, we always work for clients like developers or city authorities. But if we were able to kind of change our mindset and think, what if nature was the client? What would it be asking of us? And I think it will be asking of us 4 things. There might be 10 things. But first of all, I think it will be saying, heal me. I'm wounded, heal me. Second, don't harm me. 3, increase me. Add me, more of me in the city. And 4, let me help you. So really thinking of nature as a solution. Thank you.